Hey there, my birthday is coming up soon. On the 17th of June, I'll finally turn 22, and what I want to do is a little birthday P.O. box video.
Wow!
So if you want and can, send me something cool. The address for the P.O. box is on the screen right now and can also be found in the description. Now, one thing we have noticed is that Nintendo loves the piranha plants for some reason. We aren't sure why, but they get a lot of attention. We even saw this with Super Smash Bros, where one of them became a DLC character, which nobody ever expected. However, this wasn't the first time Nintendo did something like this, because we saw an earlier example of this, PETEY Piranha, who became a boss in many different games, although things got more and more fuzzy down the line. So, let me explain. Because we will be looking at PETEY Piranha and how he evolved in terms of design, gameplay, use, and story. Now, this beast is a large mutant piranha plant looking a lot more humanoid compared to the normal ones, even walking on two legs. He's a bit of an abomination, to be honest, and we don't know where he came from. Nintendo hasn't even mentioned anything about it. All we know is that he popped up in Super Mario Sunshine for some reason, and according to Mario Superstar Baseball, he got his look from some sort of mutation. Although I do have an idea what could have happened. It might be that Bowser Jr. created him, since he helps him in Super Mario Sunshine, being able to do all kinds of weird attacks which are related to the magic Bowser's son is using. So maybe he transformed the normal piranha plant into what he is now. But we can't be sure about this, so take it with a grain of salt. I want to stick to the facts mostly in these videos. Now, in this cool summer Mario game, he is stationed in Bianco Hills, where he covers the landscape with goop and resides on top of the big windmill scene there. And of course you have to get rid of him, so you take him on 2 times in this world. First fighting him inside of the windmill. This is during the episode Down with PETEY Piranha, where you confront him on top of the windmill since he has taken it over and covered it in weird vines. And when you're finally at the top, you gotta take him on. His attacks involve spitting out goop, which causes swooping stews and piranha plants to spawn and attack you. And to defeat him, you must spray into his mouth when it opens, which causes him to swallow it all. Don't you dare take that out of context. And this will cause PETEY to fall over and his belly button to bulge, giving you the golden opportunity to ground pound right on top of him, which will make him spew the water he swallowed all around, cleaning any goop as well. And after doing that 3 times, he is defeated. Overall, not a very complex fight. It just builds on base mechanics of Super Mario Sunshine, like spraying water and goop enemies. However, that's most likely because it was one of the first levels in the game, so it couldn't be too complicated. Luckily enough, there was another battle with him, which is actually a lot better than the other one in multiple ways. Here you find him snoozing on a cliff high above Bianco Hills, and after waking him up, the battle starts. He uses his enormous arms to fly and launch an attack from the sky, but he cannot stay up there for very long without struggling. And as soon as you spray water or shoot points at him, he falls down, starting the battle for real. Again, you have to fill its belly with water and ground pound it just like before. But if you're not fast enough, he can take to the skies again, launch tornadoes at you, hit you with his arms, or even throw up goop. So the second time around, he becomes a lot more powerful and even assaults you from high above. Clearly, this is the more challenging version, and a lot of things seen in this battle would be seen again in later fights. So PETEY became a bit of a classic and also a well-known foe in the new and weird Super Mario Sunshine game that was extremely different from the previous 3D game. However, since the fights with him were so strange and all centered around the new FLUDD from Sunshine, could he be used in any other titles? Well, actually, yes. While he wasn't super popular or even seen in a lot of games, we did see him in New Super Mario Bros. In this strange 2D reboot of the series, our favorite plant monster makes a return, which you wouldn't expect since he's so purpose-built for Super Mario Sunshine in a 3D world. However, in this game, Nintendo actually came up with a great way of recycling his old mechanics into a new title, which is actually filled to the brim with all kinds of unique and special bosses that were rarely seen in the series, which would have some negative impacts down the road. But we will get to that later. Now, PETEY Piranha is the boss of World 5, which is the ice world, weirdly enough. It doesn't seem fitting to me, but hey, what do I know? Many piranha plants appear in PETEY's castle, which is a subtle hint that he's going to appear as the boss at the end. Personally, I like that. It also creates a bit of a build-up to the confrontation at the very end, and when you do finally find him, he attacks by flying high up and then dropping back down, attempting to crush you. which is a bit similar to the ground pound, and since the floor is made of slippery ice, after attacking, he slips and falls, which might have been the entire reason for putting him in this world, which is quite a switch for the beast, since he went from a sunny paradise to a concrete frozen wasteland. Now when he's down you can attack him, and after 2 hits he starts his attack by jumping from side to side, which makes it harder. So this time around Nintendo used his ability of flying, which was also seen in Super Mario Sunshine. And it was also the only thing they could salvage from it, to be honest. All of his other abilities are tied to the whole paint and spray theme of Sunshine after all. Well, except for the tornadoes, which could have actually played a fun role in this fight. Although it could be that the arena is too small for something like that. However, if they made a smaller one that doesn't go too fast, you could challenge the player to dodge them by jumping over them. But regardless of that, it's still a decent fight. Although I would have liked to see him perform some other moves. For example, in one of the Spinoff Games that was actually released before New Super Mario Bros., we saw a boss fight with him as well. I'm talking about Super Princess Peach, a weird game where you play as royalty and your emotions matter a lot. But in this game we do see a fight with PETEY Piranha where he has a lot more attacks, like sending out shockwaves, pushing back Peach, shooting nipper plants, and more. So Nintendo could have added some other abilities to his fight in New Super Mario Bros. It was a big game after all. However, because this title has a lot of special bosses that were rarely seen, like I mentioned before, they would never be seen again. And so, PETEY Piranha wasn't seen in the main series games anymore as well, being lost after this title. However, the spin-off games still exist, and here he would play a huge role. Think of games like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, for example. This game had an impressive single-player campaign, with PETEY being the first boss even, where he captures Peach and Zelda in cages, and then attacks you with those in battle. This is an interesting fight that actually uses our Planty Boy in a completely new and quite unexpected way. And Nintendo would continue to do stuff like this in other spin-off titles as well, really giving him huge and surprisingly consistent roles throughout the games. Especially in the turn-based titles like Mario and Luigi as well as Paper Mario, he's seen a lot as a boss. Like in Mario and Luigi Paper Jam and Partners in Time, both games feature a battle with him, and again, flying is a thing he does. That's something that will never change, I think. It's ingrained into the character by now. However, while it's fun and all to see him in these spin-off games, he did get stuck in them, and never came back to the main series. Which means that in the end, he was only seen in 2 main series games, Super Mario Sunshine and New Super Mario Bros., which isn't a whole lot. Even in the most recent title, Super Mario Odyssey, he didn't play a role whatsoever, even though he could have been a great fit in one world in particular. The Wooded Kingdom! This is already a huge forest with piranha plants seen everywhere that even shoot poisonous goop at you. So what they could have done is added him somewhere in the world, maybe in the dark woods below, acting as some sort of secret boss where you can beat him for a power moon. That would have been cool and a fun surprise as well. Nintendo did mention after all that both Super Mario Sunshine and 64 did inspire them when it comes to this game. So it would have been fitting, but sadly enough they completely forgot about our favorite Planty Boy and instead used him for completely different games where he isn't as fitting. For example, he appears in Mario Tennis Aces as the first boss of the game's story mode, being fought in the mission Forest Monster. So he went from a boss in 2 main series games to becoming your tennis instructor in a decent game, but nothing to write home about. He wasn't even seen in Super Mario Maker 2, even though he did appear in a very prominent and important 2D Mario game. New Super Mario Bros. Was extremely popular after all, and it's even one of the styles in the game. So it could have been fun to add him as an extra boss, aside from the normal koopaling affairs. So it would have been cool to see him in that game as a boss. However, even that didn't happen at all. Even in the most recent update, we didn't see anything about him. While I do think that PETEY Piranha could have been a really cool and very different boss in the game. Especially if you add a bunch of other stuff to it, which is possible in Super Mario Maker 2. But no, Nintendo just didn't include him. Overall, it's just disappointing to say the least. But it is what it is. Maybe Nintendo will do something exciting with him in the future. We never know what the next game will bring after all. It could be something completely new, or a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey. And Nintendo does seem to like the piranha creatures, creating different versions for boss fights in games like Super Mario Galaxy. And heck, the goop-spitting piranha plants came back, so maybe our big boy villain will return in time as well. They never made DLC for Super Mario Odyssey after all, so the chances of a sequel actually happening are pretty big. And here, PETEY Piranha might actually play a role, although we can never be certain of that since Nintendo is such a wild card. But personally, I really hope he comes back. Only time will tell.